In this video, we are going to go over the trunking termination, which is the first step to start placing calls. In the next video, you will learn how to receive calls through trunking origination. And in the third and final video, you will learn how to receive a call from around the world with international trunking. Here we go. We will be configuring the FreePBX with one phone extension. First, we will configure the Elastic SIP Trunk on the Twilio platform. Next, we will configure the FreePBX, more specifically the peers, outbound routes, and the dial patterns. A Twilio trunk has two directions, trunking termination and trunking origination. Trunking termination is the ability to call from your PBX out to the PSTN through your Twilio trunk. And trunking origination is the ability to receive a call from the PSTN to a Twilio number and have that call delivered to your PBX. Let's get to it. Let's log into the console and go to the Elastic SIP Trunking product. We can access it on recently used products or along the left side as well. Now let's create a brand new trunk for this demo. The first step is to give our SIP trunk a friendly name. I'm going to call it Demo Trunk, and you'll see this takes us to the general settings of the trunk. There are three features that we can configure in the general settings. We can configure recordings, secure trunking, and emergency calling here. Let's go to the termination area. This is going to give us the ability to call out to the PSTN. The first thing we need to do is give it a SIP URI. I'm going to keep it simple and call it Demo Trunk. Next, we need to provide authentication setting for the SIP trunk. I'll be using my credentials here. And that's all we have to do to set up the termination side of the trunk. Now, go over to the PBX, go to Connectivity, Trunks. From here, let's create a new trunk on your PBX and point it to the Elastic SIP Trunk on Twilio that we created before. Let's give this trunk a name, Twilio Trunk. We are not going to set up caller ID for simplicity, so let's jump directly to the SIP settings. Give it a name as well, Twilio Trunk. Now, this is the most important part. We are going to connect the PBX to the Twilio SIP Trunk. Now, configure the PBX host using the termination URI on the Twilio side, demotrunk.pstn.twilio.com. Use the Twilio credentials for the username and secret. Your PBX will ask for a caller ID, but we're going to ignore that warning for now. And that's all you need for the trunk configuration. Let's jump to the last part, configuring outbound routes. We are going to call this new outbound route PBX to Trunk. This routes all the traffic from my phone extension to the PBX out through the Twilio SIP Trunk. Now, as you know, we need to set up a dial pattern. Here, let's just simply use a dot to match all the dial patterns. Now, all phone extensions will use this outbound route for any placed call. Before we can place calls, we need to configure my phone extension on the PBX. I have already configured 415 for my Bria soft phone for this demo and the appropriate extension on the PBX. Let me also show you what is on my Bria client. It is the 415 extension and the IP address of the PBX. As you can see, this phone extension is registered and the status indicator is green. It's time to place a call from this phone extension using Twilio SIP to my cell phone. So that's it. In order to make our first call, we started with configuring the termination settings on an Elastic SIP Trunk in Twilio's console. We then configured the FreePBX to connect with the trunk. We tied the phone extension to the PBX and hooked up the Bria soft phone and made a call. At this point, we can log back into Twilio console and check out the call logs. Here is that call that we just placed. If you want, you can download the PCAP trace for any troubleshooting. In the next video, you'll learn how to receive calls using trunking origination.